Do you ever get nervous before a
Not
show?
anymore. I used to. Obviously, obviously you get nervous anytime that you're doing something for the first time or anytime you're new, especially in a setting where you know that people are going to be judging the merit of your work. I don't so much get nervous anymore, although because, as I said, I have that kind of Henry Rollins mentality of give it everything that you possibly can. And the standards that I hold myself to are that if I have the energy to remain standing after I'm done with a poetry set, then I feel like I did it wrong. And the way I look at it is anybody who is at a show that I'm involved with, either they paid a cover or they invested their time. Somehow that every person in an audience has made an investment, whether it's monetary or just an investment of their time and being. They've made it an investment with, wow, this lighting thing has, anyway, all right. Any person in the audience has invested in me as a performer, and whether it's the door cover or just their time, either way, I have no ability to pay that back if I screw up and if I don't give them something worthy of their investment. So I do look at it from that angle. I wouldn't necessarily say it makes me nervous, but it's something that I'm very aware of when I get ready to perform, and I keep that very, very forefront in my mind.
Do you have a fondest memory in your shows and performances and all that?
I would have to say probably last year getting a chance to perform as an opening act for some of my poetry heroes would be one of my fond memories. I actually did get a chance to perform as an opening act for Buddy Wakefield, Anis Mojgani, Derek Brown, and Andrea Gibson when their tour came through Pittsburgh at our home venue. That's probably one of my top memories, but honestly, I've done so many shows, especially this year, they're all starting to blur together, and I can't remember which thing happened at which time. It's all fun. I'm having a blast.
So if you were to give someone advice on how to start, writing music or writing poetry, what advice would that be?
Start. Just get a notebook, write in it a lot. First and foremost, don't make the mistake that I made early on in my life of beating yourself up mentally if every time you sit down to write, you don't come up with some brilliant piece of literature. It's completely okay to have a garbage pile. I have several of them at this point, and not every time you sit down, first off, I would say don't even sit down with the intent to write a poem. Just sit down and write. Just vent what's in your head. Free write the same word over and over and over again if you have to. Just get involved in the act of making something transform from being a subconscious thought to being something that you consciously put down, whether it's on paper or on a computer. Just get into the act of creating. Everything else comes afterwards. You can go back, you can revise, you can edit, you can go back to journal entries that you wrote 4 years ago and realize, hey, there's something I can work with here. But if you don't have that initial pile of words, you're just going to be stuck looking at a blank piece of paper and going, okay, what do I do? Where do I go next? So advice would be just do it. Just get out there. Don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry about writing something amazing. Don't worry about what people are going to think. None of that matters. Just sit down, write, create, and after all is said and done, go back and look at it and see if there's anything that you can form.
Okay. So do you have any musical or inspirations or anything like that?
I'm actually far more inspired and influenced by musicians than I am by poets. Okay. I've already name dropped Black Flag a couple of times, which is ironic because I'm not really a fan of their music. I'm absolutely a fan of everything that they represented. Bands that I listen to have played so much more into the sphere of influence as far as shaping both how I write and how I perform. The way that I structure my sets together kind of confuses people when I go to poetry shows because I treat it like I treat it like what I'm doing as a punk rock band that just happens to not have any instruments. So if you come see me at a performance, what you're going to get is I'm not going to introduce myself. I'm not going to sit and take 30 or 40 seconds telling you who I am and why you should listen to me. I'm not going to tell you in between each poems what this poem was about. I'm not going to banter with you. I'm just going to go. I'm going to explode. I'm going to give it everything that I have, go as hard as I can, and be done before you even realize what just happened to you. Because that's how every band that I ever grew up listening to and ever grew up being inspired by did it. Just, it was good enough for the Ramones. Just count off 1, 2, 3, 4, play your opening chord, and then keep going. Keep going and don't stop. Not very many poets look at it like that. And as such, I can't really claim to be influenced by too many of them.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a website?
I do. I have both a individual website that I run and maintain, and kind of an artist collective website that I operate under. If you visit whatis174.com, that's what is and then the number 174. Whatis174.com would be the overall site. I have kind of my own independent publishing venture that I created, so I could make my own chapbooks look more legitimate, and then it somehow magically grew into something a little more real. My personal website is just williamjames.whatis174.com. And I just recently updated it within the last few weeks. It's got an entirely new visual design, entirely new content updates, and I have a blog that I absolutely forget about frequently and maybe update once every few months.
Alrighty. Do you have any published works?
I do. I have self-published a couple of different chapbooks. One of which is currently available now. That I have for sale at shows, and if you really were interested in obtaining a copy but weren't in any way able to see me perform, you could probably contact me somehow via the internet, and we could work something out. But I have a self-published chapbook. Like I said, I'm releasing the cassette on Rat Tail Horde Records, and a poem that I wrote earlier this year in April was actually published in the inaugural issue of Muzzle Magazine, a literary magazine in Chicago. So I am now thinking of making that next plunge into the land of terror and neurotic artistic insecurities by trying to submit more of my work to be published elsewhere. It's an absolutely terrifying thought, so I've been avoiding it for a long time, but who knows? We'll see what happens.
Alrighty, well, I'm glad you can come visit us and get
Absolutely.
All right,
It was a good time.
Yep, thanks for coming.